In the sweltering heat of November 18, 1978, over 900 men, women, and children lay dead in a remote Guyanese jungle. They had willingly consumed cyanide-laced Flavor Aid, many doing so with calm obedience, others under duress. This was Jonestown, the tragic end of the People's Temple, a cult led by the charismatic and delusional Jim Jones. The world watched in horror. How could so many seemingly ordinary people carry out such a senseless, self-destructive act? The same haunting question echoes through the darkest chapters of history, from the cheering crowds at Nazi rallies to modern-day conspiracy movements. How could so many people do something so irrational? The answer may lie not in malice, but in something more insidious. German theologian and anti-Nazi dissident Dietrich Bonhoeffer, imprisoned and eventually executed for resisting Hitler, offered a chilling insight. Stupidity is more dangerous than evil. Evil, he argued, can be confronted, exposed, punished. But stupidity, blind, thoughtless conformity, spreads silently and defies reason. This essay explores the unsettling reality that stupidity is not a harmless absence of intelligence. It is a potent force, destructive, contagious, and often invisible. Unlike ignorance, which can be cured by learning, stupidity resists enlightenment and thrives in groups. It silences dissent, warps truth, and enables atrocities. From Jonestown to totalitarian regimes to online echo chambers, we will examine how stupidity moves from personal folly to collective tragedy, and why recognizing its power is crucial for the survival of reason and freedom. Stupidity versus evil is the deliberate infliction of harm, often driven by malice, greed, or cruelty. It knows what it's doing. There's calculation behind evil, a choice to do wrong. This makes it possible to argue with, confront, and ultimately resist evil. Because it has some awareness, evil can be unmasked, shamed, or held accountable. Stupidity, on the other hand, is not mere lack of intelligence. It is willful ignorance. It's the refusal to think critically or to learn, even when facts are clear. A stupid person often believes with complete confidence that they are right, despite overwhelming evidence to the contrary. This certainty makes stupidity more dangerous than evil. Evil may hide. Stupidity wears a smile and marches forward, blind and proud. An evil person might know they're lying or harming others, but a stupid person truly believes their delusions. They can't be reasoned with because they aren't reasoning at all. They reject logic, mistrust knowledge, and often become instruments of greater evil without even realizing it. The theologian Dietrich Bonhoeffer, who resisted the Nazi regime, captured this danger. Evil carries within itself the seed of its own destruction, but stupidity is not self-destructive. Evil eventually exhausts itself, exposed by its own consequences. But stupidity, unthinking and unchecked, can spread like a disease, protected by its ignorance. In the end, while evil is terrifying, it's at least visible. Stupidity is invisible to itself, and that makes it harder to stop. Dietrich Bonhoeffer, a German theologian and staunch anti-Nazi dissident, witnessed firsthand how ordinary, seemingly moral people became complicit in horrific atrocities. Living in Nazi Germany, he observed that it wasn't only the fanatics or the ideologically extreme who enabled the regime's brutality, it was the vast majority who remained silent, who followed orders without question, and who chose comfort over conscience. Bonhoeffer saw how societal norms shifted subtly, and how people, by doing nothing, allowed evil to flourish. It wasn't active hatred driving the Holocaust and other crimes. It was passive conformity. Bonhoeffer concluded that the gravest danger to humanity isn't a handful of evil men, but the mass of unthinking individuals who fail to question authority. In his writings, especially in letters and papers from prison, he warned that blind obedience, what he called thoughtless conformity, was the root of true moral collapse. People surrendered their ethical responsibility to the state, excusing themselves with the claim that they were just following orders. This insight reveals a core mechanism of totalitarianism. Such regimes do not rely solely on brutality to maintain control. They rely on widespread silence, on people's reluctance to speak out or resist. Totalitarianism thrives when individuals abdicate personal responsibility and cling to collective loyalty, even in the face of clear injustice. Bonhoeffer's warning endures. Evil gains ground not only through the actions of the wicked, but through the inaction of the decent. The path to atrocity is paved with the quiet compliance of the majority. The nature of stupidity. Stupidity is not the absence of knowledge, but the refusal to engage with it. Unlike ignorance, which is a lack of information and can be resolved through learning, stupidity resists correction. It is an active defense against truth, a stubborn, often confident posture that refuses to reconsider its stance, no matter the evidence. One of the most striking traits of stupidity is its resistance to new information. Present a flat earther with satellite images of the Earth, and they'll say the photos are faked. Show a conspiracy theorist peer-reviewed studies, and they'll dismiss them as part of a deep state agenda. Instead of changing their minds, stupid people double down. Their views aren't based on evidence. They're fueled by identity, emotion, and tribal loyalty. Social media has amplified this phenomenon. In do your own research echo chambers, people aren't seeking truth. They're searching for information that confirms what they already believe. Algorithms feed this cycle, reinforcing delusions and creating bubbles where falsehoods flourish. A meme carries more persuasive power than a scientific paper. As Aldous Huxley wrote, "Facts do not cease to exist because they are ignored." But in a world where confidence often outweighs competence, facts can be buried under sheer certainty. The danger lies in that certainty. Stupid people often radiate confidence, which can be mistaken for intelligence or leadership. This false assurance can sway others, spread misinformation, and fuel destructive movements. Doubt, ironically, is a sign of thoughtfulness. The wise question themselves. The stupid do not. We all hold some false beliefs, but stupidity begins when we refuse to let go of them, even when truth knocks loudly. In that refusal lies not just ignorance, but a danger to reason, to dialogue, and to democracy itself. Historical examples of stupidity's destruction. History is rife with examples where collective ignorance, blind faith, or outright refusal to listen to warnings led to catastrophic consequences. These episodes reveal how stupidity, often intertwined with power, pride, or misplaced confidence, can destroy lives on a massive scale. Jonestown. In 1978, over 900 people died in the Jonestown Massacre by drinking poisoned Flavor Aid, orchestrated by cult leader Jim Jones. This tragedy wasn't born out of hatred, but rather from blind faith in a charismatic leader who promised salvation. The followers ignored obvious warning signs, dismissing doubts as betrayals. By the time the gravity of the situation became clear, it was too late. Jonestown stands as a grim reminder of how unquestioning loyalty to authority, coupled with isolation from outside perspectives, can culminate in mass tragedy. The Challenger disaster. On January 28, 1986, the Space Shuttle Challenger exploded shortly after liftoff, killing all 7 astronauts aboard. Engineers had warned that the cold temperatures on launch day could compromise the shuttle's O-ring seals, critical components designed to prevent leaks. Despite these technical concerns, NASA leadership pushed forward with the launch. This disaster highlights a different form of stupidity, the arrogance of those in power who refuse to heed expert advice, convinced of their infallibility. The Challenger disaster was not a failure of technology alone, but of judgment and communication. Chernobyl in 1986. The Chernobyl nuclear power plant in the Soviet Union suffered a catastrophic meltdown, releasing massive amounts of radiation. Soviet officials, driven by national pride and political pressure, ignored or overrode safety protocols designed to prevent such an accident. The deadly combination of political hubris and disregard for expert warnings transformed a contained incident into a disaster with global repercussions. Chernobyl illustrates how power, when mixed with stupidity and denial, can unleash catastrophic consequences far beyond immediate control. The 2008 financial crisis. The global financial crisis of 2008 exposed the perils of misplaced confidence in complex financial systems. Experts and regulators ignored or dismissed repeated warnings about risky lending practices and unsustainable asset bubbles. Those who questioned the system were often silenced or mocked. This collective blindness, fueled by greed and overconfidence, precipitated one of the worst economic collapses in modern history. The crisis underscored how systemic stupidity, refusal to critically assess risks, can wreak havoc on economies and lives worldwide. Through power and the echo chamber effect. Power has a unique ability to isolate individuals from reality, often trapping leaders in an echo chamber where truth becomes distorted or completely ignored. This phenomenon is vividly illustrated by the yes men effect, where those in leadership positions are surrounded by people who only tell them what they want to hear. This dynamic reinforces the leader's beliefs and decisions without critical feedback, creating a dangerous feedback loop. Closely tied to this is the illusion of infallibility that often accompanies power. Leaders may believe that because they are in charge, they must be right. This mindset discourages dissent and critical thinking, fostering an environment where mistakes are overlooked or denied rather than addressed. Such arrogance can lead to disastrous consequences when unchecked. History offers numerous examples. Authoritarian regimes frequently isolate their rulers from honest counsel, leading to policies that are disconnected from the needs and realities of the people. Corporate disasters, such as major financial collapses or industrial accidents, often stem from leaders ignoring warnings or dissenting voices. Political leaders who surround themselves with loyalists rather than experts risk making decisions that can have far-reaching negative impacts. The consequences of this isolation extend beyond the top echelons. Stupidity at the top trickles down is a harsh but accurate observation. When those in power stop questioning their own assumptions and fail to seek diverse perspectives, the entire organization or society suffers. Decisions become less informed, risks are underestimated, and innovation stalls. Ultimately, when leaders stop thinking critically, everyone else pays the price, sometimes with devastating results. The psychology of blind obedience. The Milgram experiment famously demonstrated That ordinary people are capable of obeying authority figures even when doing so causes significant harm to others. Participants, instructed by an experimenter, administered what they believed were painful electric shocks to strangers. Despite hearing cries of pain, many continued to comply, highlighting a disturbing tendency toward blind obedience. Similarly, the Ash experiment revealed the power of social conformity. Participants often agreed with the group's incorrect answers to simple questions, showing that the desire to fit in and avoid social rejection often outweighs personal judgment and truth. Both experiments underscore a fundamental aspect of human psychology. The fear of social exclusion is more potent than the fear of being wrong. People are wired to seek acceptance and belonging, sometimes at the cost of their own values or accuracy. This dynamic explains why individuals often suppress critical thinking in favor of aligning with authority or group norms. This psychological tendency connects deeply with the warnings of theologian Dietrich Bonhoeffer. He argued that when people stop thinking for themselves and unquestioningly follow authority, they become mere instruments of destruction. Blind obedience, whether in everyday life or in darker historical contexts, can enable harmful actions and moral failures. Bonhoeffer's insight reminds us of the vital importance of independent thought and moral courage to resist unjust authority and social pressure. Modern stupidity, social media, and misinformation. In today's digital age, misinformation spreads at an alarming rate, 6 times faster than the truth, according to a landmark MIT study. This rapid dissemination is driven not by facts, but by emotional appeal. People are more likely to share content that provokes strong feelings such as fear, anger, or excitement, regardless of its accuracy. Social media platforms, designed to maximize engagement, amplify this trend. Algorithms prioritize sensational and emotionally charged content, often giving conspiracy theories and falsehoods a wider audience than verified information. This environment has become fertile ground for the spread of dangerous misconceptions, from the anti-vaccine movement to flat Earth theories and climate change denial. These conspiracy theories thrive because they tap into underlying fears and uncertainties, offering simple explanations for complex problems. The viral nature of misinformation means that digital stupidity no longer stays confined. It spreads globally and instantly, influencing millions. The consequences are serious. Public health is compromised, scientific consensus is undermined, and societal divisions deepen. Combating this modern form of stupidity requires critical thinking, digital literacy, and responsible platform design. Without these, misinformation will continue to outpace truth, reshaping our world in troubling ways. Fighting stupidity is incredibly difficult because it resists logic and reason. When confronted with arguments, stupidity rarely engages thoughtfully. Instead, it deflects, mocks, or simply ignores evidence. The more facts or proof you present, the stronger the resistance becomes, creating a frustrating cycle. As Dietrich Bonhoeffer wisely noted, never try to reason with stupidity. It only gets stronger. This stubbornness means that rational debate often fails to change minds, since stupidity is less about ignorance and more about an emotional or willful rejection of truth. Thus, combating it requires more than argument. It demands patience and strategy. To combat ignorance, think independently, even when it's uncomfortable. Seek out those who challenge your views, not just those who agree. Cultivate curiosity, humility, and vigilance. Question authority and demand accountability. Never follow blindly. As Bonhoeffer said, the ultimate test of a moral society is the kind of world it leaves to its children. Fighting stupidity is difficult, but remaining silent is far more dangerous. Our responsibility is to speak up, challenge falsehoods, and foster critical thinking. Only by doing so can we build a wiser, more just world for future generations.